Hello and welcome to the How is the Pain of Divorce Impacting You and Your Kids webinar. My name is Peter Hobler and I am the creator, the founder of the X Factor philosophy and brand. So I am honored that you are here and with me today. My wife Lori, who just had surgery, would normally be joining me, but hopefully she'll be sort of back in the saddle, if you will, by next month, which will be great. And let me just share, first of all, a little heartfelt welcome, because going through what you're going through, whatever it is in a realm of your separation and divorce, is hard, it's challenging, it's painful. And no one ever learns how to be happily married for the rest of their lives before they get married. And if and when things start going downhill, headed towards separation, divorce, no one has ever learned beforehand how to go through divorce in a peaceful, in a compromising, co-parenting fashion. So let me just share a little bit about myself and then we'll jump right in, because I know time is so valuable. Well, my passionate mission is to impact lives. And what does that mean? That means to inspire more people through active and courageous teaching. And I'm a father of a 22-year-old daughter. In fact, she just graduated college last month, started her first job this week. So today is day 4 for her. And I also have 3 adult children, stepchildren, and an 8-year-old grandson, thanks to my wonderful wife, Lori. I have an MBA. I am the driving force behind the X Factor philosophy and brand, which you'll hear a little bit more about today. I am the developer of the 7 Principles of Courage. I'm the architect of the vicious cycle of subconscious fear. I'm the author of 2 books, Courage to Find the Fire Within, Invest in Yourself to Discover Your Passion, and of Split Harmony, Turn the X Factor from Chaos to Compassion. I'm a keynote speaker and a personal development coach. So my wife Lori and I have each been through divorce. We've experienced the emotional, mental, and psychological pain and anguish, and every situation is different. But we've been there, we've experienced it. We've met with, who knows how many coaches and counselors. We've done the work with them. We've read, we've journaled, we've done the self-work. And we are absolutely committed to being here to support you and other parents going through separation, divorce, or even already divorced. Learn how to start to let go of the dark emotions and rechannel that energy. And we'll get into more depth in that, of course, in a little bit. So my story, if you will, that's led to where we are here with you being here today, I remember vividly the feelings that were consuming me as I went through separation and divorce, and the pain. It was heartbreaking. I was afraid of losing my daughter, that her mom would take her away from me. I was pretty reactive with anger a lot of the times, and I was very anxious, worried, stressed out to the max. I was regretful. I was resentful at some of the things my then ex was doing. And I was so frustrated. And grief was also impacting me. I had no idea what to do. I reached a point where I was at my wit's end and didn't know where to turn. So I remember hanging up the phone from a coaching session with my then personal coach, JT, on personal responsibility. And I walked to the closest mirror. I looked myself in the eyes and I asked myself, who is responsible for all those times that I reacted with anger towards my ex-spouse? And I realized immediately that it was me and only me, that no one else could be responsible for my choices, my behavior, my reacting. No one could control myself or change myself except for me. And in that instant, I committed to strive to remain calm no matter what during any and all interactions moving forward with my ex-spouse. The very next day, this commitment was put to the test when we were sitting down, actually trying to have a conversation about the custody schedule for our daughter. And everything was joint, supposedly, but the communication was not a two-way scenario at this point. And she said something that normally would have triggered me in an instant. And I remember looking at her, my head slightly cocked to the right, and reflecting on my commitment to remain calm. And this upset her. She got pissed off at me and said, "What are you being so smug about?" And I simply looked at her, said, "I'm not being smug. I have simply and absolutely realized that my daughter, our daughter, is far too important to me for me to allow myself to continue to react to you." And from that point forward, it took a few months, but over time, the dynamics began to shift. The channel of communications started to open a little bit more. So that was really the beginning of what has led to the creation of the X Factor philosophy and brand. And life is so fascinating, and we're all conditioned in ways we often don't have any idea. And let's take anger, one of the pains of divorce, as we move into the pain of divorce section. And I actually quickly meant to share with you the agenda for today, but I'll just run through it. We're going to jump into the pain of divorce, talk about the impact of the pain and of the situation of your separation divorce scenario on you and your kids. We're going to spend a few minutes delving into what is your greatest pain or challenge. Hopefully I'll be able to connect with that and come up with some solutions for you, some ideas on how to start moving forward in a different way to create a change. I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can reduce the anxiety and stress. We'll discuss the benefits of the X Factors Create a Harmonious Split Master Course, and I'll be wrapping up with a brief summary and a few concepts, including an exercise for you for what are your next steps. So when it comes to anger, the second you get angry, and I really believe most people don't realize this, but the second you get angry, in this case at your ex, something they've said or done, second you get angry, you've lost control of yourself, of the interaction with your ex, and the other person, the ex in this case, will probably never do what you want them to do. So in other words, what good is this anger doing, this reactionary behavior? We tend to get so caught up in focusing subconsciously on what we do not want that we create more of the same. And I've got a fair number of favorite quotes, but one of them is by Martin Luther King. And it says, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." And if you want to be treated with respect, it's really important, even if the other person is being downright nasty, trying to upset you, it's still a choice how you move forward in this relationship. And as I shared in my story, I made the ultimate commitment to strive to try and remain calm. And over time, everything started to change. So even though I could not do anything and didn't want to, because I realized I couldn't change or control the ex, as I shifted and changed my behavior, over time, she had to change hers. It just happened that way. And typically that's the way it works. There's always exceptions when things get really nasty. And co-parenting ultimately is a two-way tango, if you will. It takes two to tango. But if the other person, if your ex refuses, is obstinate, purposely is out to, hurt you, not let you see the kids, not let them call you when they have them, whatever it is, understand, this is really important, that by your creating a shift, you can absolutely create a shift in the underlying dynamics, particularly in the relationship with your children. Because as a parent, everything we say and do teaches and impacts your kids. So it's really, really important to understand that. So the pain of divorce comes in many shapes, forms, emotions. So of course there's the anger, there's the frustration, worry, stress, anxiety, regret, resentment, rejection. There's shame. There's often a huge feeling, a sense of grief, and loss. Loss can be huge. A loss of a sense of family, which can lead to a loss of sense of identity, a loss of self-confidence, a loss of connection. That was so important when you first met and got married. And that connection was so special. And whatever has happened has shifted that. But when you're filled with, let's just take anger, where I talked a little bit about that. But when you're filled with anger and constantly reacting to and towards your ex, you're setting an example for your kids. You're teaching and impacting your kids, even when they're not there. And think about this. If you've reacted with anger, you've yelled at your ex, you've accused him or her, you've threatened him or her, whatever it is, you better let me see the kids or I'm going to, whatever it is. Understand, they don't have to be present to be impacted. If you're angry at your ex, he or she very likely is going to be filled with that negative energy and in some form or fashion, take it out on the kids. It will probably not be intentional, but they may not be as open, as joyful, as giving, as caring or loving, and it's going to impact your kids. And this is true of the frustration, the regret, the resentment, the shame, the sense of loss. Kids are very astute, especially the younger kids. They're in the prime of learning. They get it a lot more than we think. So being aware of the choices you make can start to shift everything. And when you're feeling that anger, that crescendoing energy building inside of you and you're about to explode and react, you have three choices. And actually just sort of learned about this in a conversation just this past weekend with a couple who specialize in helping people rechannel energy from their emotions. And it really impacted me. So when you get angry, you have three choices. Number one, you can do nothing. You can sit there, let it stew and build inside of you. And over time, as you keep doing that, at some point, you're probably going to blow your lid. The pop's going to top and you're going to lose it. You can also, number two, you can react, which is the norm, right? That's how we're all conditioned. Somebody else that gets angry, accuses you, threatens you, you get angry. Every choice, every choice we make, every action we take creates an outcome, a consequence. When we're reacting with anger, there's going to be a detrimental, probably a destructive consequence of some sort. Number three, you can learn how to rechannel that energy as you feel it building. Focus with clarity on what you want, which is going to be a huge part of our time today. And hone in on who and how you have to intentionally be to create more of what you want, to get you closer to it, to get your kids closer to what you really want to create for them. And turn it into something constructive. So it's really true how you move forward in the current version of the relationship as you go your separate ways. When you have clarity for your kids, which to me is that huge reason that's bigger than any one of us, you can put your kids first. Put your anger, your frustration, your regret, whatever it is, aside, rechannel, and strive to co-parent. And if the other parent refuses, you can at least choose not to react, which will still have a positive impact on your kids. So as far as your greatest pain or challenge, the tendency as we go through separation and divorce is to blame the other person. That, to me, I have a belief that in childhood we're sort of conditioned and taught, you upset me, you pissed me off, it's your fault. Well, everything begins with awareness. I say awareness is where it all begins. When you have the awareness that things aren't the way you want them to be, that you're feeling a way you don't want them to be, then you also have to step up into the next level and take responsibility for your words, choices, actions, inactions, your reactions, for your behavior. Because there's only one person on the planet that can do that, and it's the person in the mirror. So awareness is such an important concept. So let's run through a visualization. And please just bear with me, join me. It'll take about 2 minutes or so total. But please go through this with me because it really will. If you do this from your heart, you will feel the difference. So close your eyes, sort of shake your hands out, sort of get a little bit loose. And now visualize that you're standing right by a pond. It's a nondescript pond. It's a cloudy day. You can see the reflection of the clouds, the trees off the water, which is very still. And out in that pond are a bunch of small sailboats. Each one of those sailboats represents a person in your life. There are sailboats that represent your kids. What color are those sailboats? There's a sailboat that represents you. Mine's always blue, my favorite color. And you suddenly look down to the ground to your right, and there you see one of the gnarliest, nastiest, dark-looking rocks you've ever seen, and your curiosity gets the best of you, so you bend over, pick it up, and as soon as your fingers close around that rock, you feel the nasty, gnarly, negative, dark emotions coming up your arm into your body. You're getting angry, you're getting fearful, you're filled with frustration, angst, regret, resentment. You feel the anxiety building, the worry, the stress, the shame, the rejection, the loss, the grief. It's consuming. You can't stand it. So without thinking, you just turn and you fire. You throw that rock out into the pond as far as you can. And as that nasty, gnarly, dark, emotion-filled rock breaks the surface of the water of the pond, it starts spreading out these nasty, violent, vehement ripples. And as they start rocking, violently, vehemently rocking the sailboats, the people in your life, they're startled. They look up. They don't look happy. They're upset. They're looking for the source. They realize it's coming from you, and they're telling you to get away, go away. I don't want this in my life. The ripples continue out to the banks of the pond and come back and continue to violently, negatively rock, impact the sailboats, the people in your life, your kids, your own sailboat. You can't stand the way you're feeling. So now shake that off. Keep your eyes closed. Shake it off with your arms, your legs. Kick them out a little bit. Take a huge, slow breath in. Hold it for a second or two. Exhale quickly. Let it out. All right, now part two. Visualize you're standing by that same pond. And today it's a beautiful blue sky day. The birds are singing and chirping. You hear a slight rustle as the wind's going through the leaves and the trees. See the trees, the flowers reflecting off the surface of the perfectly calm, mirror-like pond. You look out at that pond and there's all those sailboats, the people in your life, the people you love and care about, your family, your kids, your friends. Think about the color of your kids' sailboats and think about how much you love them and the impact you want to have on them. Look at your sailboat. There's my blue one. And now you look down to the left, and at your feet, there's this beautiful, crystal clear, perfectly round blue sky sphere. You can almost see through it, and it's just radiating beauty. And you're looking at it, and you're smiling. You're feeling good, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to pick that up and experience this. So you bend over, pick up that blue sky sphere, that almost ball, that glassy ball. And as soon as your fingers close around it, you feel the joy, the good, the happiness, the love, the giving, the caring, the compassion, the awareness. And you look out into the pond and you realize, yes, I want to share all these feelings with the people in my life. So you put that beautiful, clear blue sky orb in your throwing hand and you gracefully, with all your might, throw it out into the pond. And as it breaks the surface of the water of the pond, these beautiful, loving, caressing ripples start emanating out and start caressing the sailboats, the people in your life, your kids. And everyone is smiling. They feel great. They're looking up to see where this is coming from. They realize it's from you. They're beckoning you to come over. Come over. We want to give you a hug. We want to feel more of the joy, the happiness, the giving, the caring, the love. The ripples continue to spread out to the banks of the pond and come back and continue to lovingly caress the people in your life, in your sailboat, and you feel amazing. You're grateful for being able to make conscious choices to intentionally be all of these things. So take a huge, slow breath in and slowly open your eyes. And now think about, what choice are you going to make? How do you want to move forward with the relationships with your ex-to-be? It is absolutely a choice. Do you want to cause pain for them, your kids, for you? Or do you want to strive to do the best job of co-parenting that you possibly can? and to learn how to rechannel that energy. So the next point is, how can you reduce the stress and the anxiety? And there's numerous ways. One is certainly by gaining clarity for what you really want, and at the end, what you want for your kids. At the end of the webinar today, I'll be sharing a link with you with a clarity exercise. But reducing the stress and anxiety boils down to having awareness and taking responsibility for your choices. And there's a wonderful quote that I love by one of the forefathers of self-growth, of personal coaching, named Jim Rohn. And that quote says, "You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, the wind, but you can change yourself. This is something you have charge of." I find that to be such an insightful, life-impacting quote, and it's so true. Only one person can develop heightened awareness and take responsibility for your choices. And it takes courage, it takes awareness, it takes a big open heart, putting your kids first, to learn how to stop to react. So it really boils down to understanding, knowing exactly what you want, and learning how to intentionally be that person. Who and how do you have to be? So for me, and thinking back, when I started to gain clarity for what I wanted for my daughter, when I realized the negative impact our situation was having on her, I knew I didn't want that. And then it dawned on me, I had to get clear on what I really wanted for her, what I wanted to teach her, what I wanted to create for her. I wanted to teach her how to remain calm no matter what. I wanted to teach her how to focus on finding solutions, how to communicate, how to be open-hearted, compassionate, caring, giving, even when things didn't go her way. So that means when things weren't going my way, I had to choose the high road. I wanted to teach my daughter how to be based in integrity. When we get caught up in the two-way angst, the frustration, the anger, we are completely and utterly out of integrity. So a question I used to ask myself, and I think this is key for any of us, especially in the realm of divorce. When things aren't going your way, when things are getting heated, think about who and how you would intentionally be if everything were good, if everything were just right. What would you say? How would you say it? After all, communications is 10% what you say and 90% how you say it. If you're angry, you can share that. Instead of blowing your top, just share. You know what? I'm really angry right now. Let's come back to the conversation tomorrow when I'm calm, because we're not going to get anywhere today, instead of exploding. But when you have clarity for what you want for your kids, I know, like me, you want to be the absolute best parent possible for your kids. They deserve it and they need you to be. When we're caught up in that reactionary behavior, the boxing gloves come on and it becomes a punching match. It does nothing positive for our kids. And ultimately, yes, if both of you can learn to put down the boxing gloves, put your kids first, not yourself. So many parents going through divorce think they're putting their kids first, but they're truly self-centered. They don't let the other parent even talk to the kids. They don't let the kids talk to the other parent. Well, your children are going to love both of you no matter what. Co-parenting your children in a calm, compromising fashion is one of the best gifts you can give to them. Because when we get caught up in that reactionary behavior, we're planting seeds for potential emotional, psychological trauma and mental anguish that can impact our kids the rest of their lives. It can affect their relationships. So think about what you would say, who and how you would intentionally be if everything were good. And choose the high road. And over time, experience the change, the difference that makes, especially for your kids. And sure, there are scenarios where sometimes we'll just say the X, no matter what you say or do, no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you try and let go, they just keep coming at you. They can even poison the kids to be against you sometimes. But as you strive to create that internal shift inside yourself, to create an external shift in the underlying dynamics, at least in a relationship with your kids, there will be a change because you'll be setting a much better example for them. And the kids will very likely come around. At some point, they will come around. So it's really all about shifting the dynamics for the sake of your kids. I mean, they are the biggest reason why. They're bigger than any of us. And the type of relationship as you move forward is a choice. So consider the emotional and psychological impact on your kids. Think of what your choice is going to be for how you start to move forward. Are you going to move forward in a compassionate manner, or is it going to be hostile, non-communication-based relationship? Are you going to be able to compromise, or is there going to be constant resistance that keeps building and building? And the frustration and the fighting never seems to end. Are you going to be intentional with well thought out actions, having a positive impact? Or are you going to get caught up in the reactionary behavior that's ignited by the anger, the stress, the regret, the resentment? What is the example you want to set for your kids in moving forward? What are the seeds you want to plant for them emotionally and psychologically? Gain clarity on it. It really, really makes a difference. So we're really jumping now into some of the benefits of the X Factors Creating a Harmonious Split Master Course, which is based on my book, Split Harmony, Turn the X Factor from Chaos to Compassion, and took 3 years to get to. The course is an online video course. There's 7 modules, and it goes deep into the 4 principles of split harmony: forgiveness, clarity, awareness, and responsibility. And I have a feeling some of you are thinking immediately, forgiveness, I'm not forgiving the ex. They've wronged me in so many ways. But understand, the first person you need to forgive is yourself. Because every single one of us has absolutely played a role at some level of getting to where we are. And if you think that's nuts, let me just ask you, did you make a choice when you decided to get married? That absolutely is having something to do with where you are today. If you hadn't married this person, you wouldn't be where you are today. But the main person, that regret, that resentment, that anger, all those dark emotions hurt, is the person in the mirror. For me, I realized it was hurting me, the man in the mirror, which is, the Michael Jackson song sings about that. And ultimately, when you can forgive the ex for all the things they've done, you feel like a victim, you've been wronged over and over and over. You can make the choice to stop being a victim. Because when you can forgive that person for all the bad, even heinous or maybe evil things you think he or she has done, the main person you will be uplifting and benefiting is you. And think about your kids and that example you're setting for them. And as you start to gain clarity for what you really want for your kids and also for you, instead of focusing on your fears and what you don't want, so much of that anger and the back and forth fighting and divorce, each side, each person, you and the ex, are focused on your fears and reacting, caught up in what you don't want. No wonder things have gotten so bad, so dark. So when you gain clarity for what you want, you can shift your focus. And as you develop heightened awareness for your choices, your words, your behavior, you can start to step into taking responsibility for all those. owning your choices, your behavior, and changing the ripple effect that you're creating. So when it comes to your kids, wouldn't it be worth shifting your perspective in ways that would lead to creating a more nurturing, harmonious, split environment within your family? To minimize the anxiety, stress, regret, resentment, doubt, guilt, to heal the grief, and to set a better example for them, for your kids? For me, absolutely it was. So these are some of the things that the Create a Harmonious Split Master Course are all about. And the X Factor philosophy, it's incorporated into the course. And they all cover the forgiveness, the clarity, the awareness, the responsibility. The X Factor philosophy provides a unique foundational framework that's based on real life experience. No educational theory stuff, real life-based experience to create a more peaceful, split environment that has a more positive impact for you and your kids. And the course provides insights for you to start to let go of those dark emotions, to learn how to rechannel that energy so you can intentionally have a more positive, constructive outcome. That's huge. And you can do this in any area of your life, but it's so important here in the realm of divorce. You think of all the nasty divorces, whether they're celebrities and all the money's involved, or it's a regular person like you and me. Think of the money that's spent. Think of the grief, the challenge, the trauma that we each go through, and think of the trauma we end up instilling and causing for our children. It's totally worth it to do the work. As you understand how your conscious choices versus your unconscious choices, but as you understand how your conscious choices can start to create that shift in the underlying dynamics, you can create a whole new version of the relationship. And it will definitely have a positive impact on you. So it's important to understand, to learn about the snowballing effects of unmanaged anger, being out of control, losing control of the interaction, not getting what you want, and learning how to create that shift to calmness. Yes, it's a big commitment, and yes, it's absolutely worth it. So divorce is certainly one of the most challenging aspects of anyone's life. And we've never learned how to go through divorce in that co-parenting, compromising fashion. So as you think how your behavior impacts your children, you can start to create that positive, beneficial shift that can change their lives for the rest of their lives in a truly profound way. So it's important to realize that it's time to step up, to be the parent, the person that you have the potential, the amazing potential to be for your kids. They need it. They need you to be your best, and they deserve you to be your best, no matter what's going on in every single situation. So yes, it takes awareness. It takes courage. It takes a huge open heart. It takes that reason that's bigger than you. For me, that was my now 22-year-old daughter, 19 years ago. And I look at her today and I realize, yeah, it was all worth it. And creating an internal change, yes, it takes some hard work. It takes commitment. It takes courage. It takes some discipline, awareness, responsibility. But it is one of the absolutely most worthwhile things I have ever done in my life, and I know it will be for you as well. And yes, it takes some vulnerability. A few dads out there, I know a lot of men think being vulnerable is a weakness. I'm here to share with you from my heart that being vulnerable is one of the greatest strengths on the planet. Yes, it takes courage. It takes reconditioning. but you become more relatable, you become more real, more down to earth, more compassionate. And even being compassionate when you don't feel like it. I know, in thinking back to my situation with my ex-spouse, all the time she was getting angry at me, I understood. Yeah, some of those things had something to do with me. And sure, there were times I purposely said something because I was angry that would upset her, that would piss her off. But I also understood a lot of it was not about me. We each have all these subconsciously conditioned fears that lead to our fear-based belief system. I like to call it your BS. So as we shift from a fear-based belief system to a positive belief system, we can remain calm or compassionate in every situation. It takes self-love to do this work. It takes huge love of your children. My friends, I'm here to tell you, it is one of the single most absolutely worthwhile things you can ever do. So as we wrap up, what are some next steps that you can take? Well, first of all, the first step, it's vital to gain clarity for what you really want. So bear with me here while I share my screen. And why it always does that, I'm not sure. Okay, share the screen here. So to help you gain clarity, I have a clarity exercise that you can access at the website you see here, www.thex-factor.com/clarity exercise. And the password is clarity1, clarity in the digit 1. So please, for the sake of your kids, do this. I challenge you to do this. It'll be well worth it. There's 5 steps. You'll truly gain some clarity, true clarity for what you really want for the sake of your kids. And yes, you can use this exercise for pretty much any area of life, but for your kids here in the realm of divorce, it's really, really important. You can also, as a next step, buy my book, Split Harmony, Turn the X Factor from Chaos to Compassion. And it's available on the homepage of my website, thexfactor.com. It's also available on Amazon. Just Google Split Harmony, Turn the X Factor from Chaos to Compassion. And here is my book, Split Harmony. I almost forgot to share that with you. So this will run you through the 4 principles that I mentioned: forgiveness, clarity, awareness, responsibility. Share a lot of my story and how this all worked, the difference it made for me, for my daughter. You can also get a copy of the X Factor Split Harmony Journal. I just finished this last week. And there's some great quotes in here, some questions to guide you through. So about every 7 pages, there's a different quote. So here's one. You may know this name, Valerie Bertinelli. I think she was married to one of the guys in the band Van Halen. But anyway, divorce isn't the child's fault. Don't say anything unkind about your ex to the child, because you're really just hurting the child. To me, that's so pointed. Children are the innocent victims of divorce. So realize you need to do some self-work to create a shift, to create a change, and it begins with you. So I'd mentioned the Create a Harmonious Split Master Course. So it's a 7-module, very in-depth, detailed course. It comes with a workbook. As I said, it's an online video course. And to apply for the course, it's not just anyone get it, but to apply, simply go to the website you see here, thexfactor.com/master. So www.thex-factor.com/master. And yes, of course, that's short for master course. And they'll also, you can look for an email coming up on June 26th is the official launch date of the course. It's been 3 years in the working. And you can look for an email to register to come and learn about the course. And for more info, to learn more about me, about the X Factor philosophy and brand, just go to my website, thexfactor.com. So as we wrap up, Nothing's more important than your kids. And kudos to you for showing up today. Showing up is also hard. But you need to show up by being, for your kids, being the best parent you can possibly be, no matter what's going on. And I know you're up to it because you're here. So it's vital to gain clarity so you can stop the reacting and start creating more of what you want. So I wish you Godspeed to you. And I say, God bless your children, because they're that big heartfelt reason why. On behalf of my wife, Lori, and myself, thanks for being here. Godspeed, good luck. Step up and in. You have what it takes. Look forward to talking to you soon.